Tonight, what I want to share is something brief on containerization of Angular apps with CSP considerations. But before we get to that, a brief introduction about me. I'm Billy Okeyo, software engineer currently working at a company called Innova. Uh, Specialty is more of full stack developer. So majorly backend, I do most of the stuff in C# and Angular on the front end side. So provide about 5 years of experience building systems, products. 2 years of that in Angular, so I don't have so much experience in Angular. But yeah, so why I decided to pick this particular topic is uh, there was a time I was stuck with debugging issues to do with CSP. So yeah, it was a product for a client that was needed, and when they ran security test on them, they found out that did have some of the CSP violations. So ideally, that's why I chose to pick this particular topic, because I know if I had a challenge that probably one or two others might have the same thing. So really, that's why I chose this particular topic. So what you're going to have, what you're going to cover today or tonight is first we're going to talk about introduction to containerization, then going also to talk about why do we need to containerize Angular apps. Then we'll go through the process of now Dockerizing an Angular app. Then now we'll get to the CSP basics, and then how can you implement CSP in Angular. Then we'll do a brief demo to show how things work. Then lastly, we'll talk about best practices and pitfalls that do you encounter when you're dealing with CSPs. So first thing that you're going to talk about now is introduction to containerization. So why do we, or rather, what is Docker to begin with? So ideally, Docker are lightweight, portable containers. So think of it as shipping your entire app with code dependencies, even the rest libraries. So in a single lightweight box that runs identically anywhere. So if you have it in this machine A, it will run the same way as running machine B. So unlike the bulking VMs, containers share the host kernel, making them fast and tiny. So as you compare, Docker images, they tend to be very small if you optimize, or rather if you choose the right images for, or rather the right host to use, to be slightly smaller. So you tend to compare it to the traditional, probably virtual machines or something of the sort. So then other thing that Docker brings in is the isolated environment. So each container acts, or rather is like a sandbox. So your Angular app will run in its isolated, in its own isolated space. So the need for it works on my machine. We tend to now scrap that thing off. And yeah, it works on my machine. So why not? Why it's not working on your machine? So dearly. So that's why most people tend to move towards Dockerizing most of the application. So benefits of doing this, that is Dockerizing your apps, is first, Docker guarantees consistency. So your Angular app behaves the same way across. So be it from your own laptop, be it from an AWS instance somewhere. So ideally, it works the same way all across. The second benefit that you get from that is scalability. So ideally, when there's traffic spikes and that, we can be able to spin up identical containers in seconds. So ideally, it helps with scaling. Then other thing, it also helps with faster deployments. So the CI/CD pipelines do love Docker. So build once, deploy anywhere. So we can be able to roll out updates in minutes. That's what you're going to do to cover next is why now do we need to containerize these Angular apps? So again, just a recap of what there is. We'll have consistent builds. So I know most of us have used the phrase "it works on my machine." So ideally, so when we introduce now. When you start containerizing these Angular apps, we'll end up having consistent builds. We'll end up having easy deployments. So that is ideal. You can be able to deploy anywhere. Other thing is security. So since containers are isolated sandbox, so if a dependency gets hijacked, it can't really escape to your host machine. So ideally, it will get contained within the container. So ideally, it tries to bring that aspect of security. Now, CI/CD integration. So having your CI/CD pipeline build Docker images, all that. So it's easier to integrate the process of building Docker images in your CI/CD pipeline. So think of it as Docker. Think of Docker as a lunchbox. So ideally, your Angular app will stay fresh no matter where you open it or when you open it. So now we want to talk about Dockerizing an Angular app. So ideally, the key steps of Dockerizing an Angular app: first, you need to create a Docker file. So within the Docker file, we'll be able to specify what process or other steps that we need for us to be able to build an image of our Angular app. So the key steps is we need to create a Docker file. So ideally, recommend using multi-stage builds. As in case something breaks, you can be able to pinpoint exactly where the issue is. So it helps with the debugging process of it. Then another thing, you need to configure nginx for production, because ideally Angular needs to run on on a server. So ideally nginx is the most recommended one. So you need to configure nginx. Then lastly, we build and run the container. So whatever we have here is a sample Docker file. So we'll be able to try these out and see how it works. But ideally, this is what we have. So ideally, you're building our Angular app using Node version 18. Then we are creating a work directory. Then you're copying the packages. So these are copying so that you can be able to do the installs. Then you run npm install. Then now we copy everything that you copy everything from our root folder. Ideally, now you're copying it now into the sandbox environment. Then we run a build there. Then after that, now we serve with nginx. So again, pick the nginx image. Then you can be able now to build rather copy build files from the disk directory. Copy to the nginx folder. Then I can be able to serve it. So ideally, you're exposing put 80 so that I can be able to use it. So now that we briefly talked about how we can be able to Dockerize an Angular app, I'll briefly go through now what CSP is, because this is something that I personally struggled with. So try to imagine your Angular app is more of like a nightclub. So then CSP now comes in as the bouncer. So it checks IDs at the door. So now this CSP now, as the bouncer is checking the IDs, I'm able to say probably no inline scripts, no shady CDNs, probably no evals within your code. So that's what you can say CSP is. So CSP is more of a security layer that mitigates cross-site scripting attacks. So it does that by restricting the inline scripts and styles. It also does that by restricting unsafe evals. It also does that by restricting external resource loading. So that is from CDNs and something of the sort. So, most of the cross-site scripting attacks do happen when someone injects probably a malicious code through a script, or rather, if you've not sanitized your inputs well, one can be able to run across a script there. So ideally, this will come in to try and rather restrict some of these things so that you don't end up having a cross-site scripting attack. Thinking of it, Angular most of the time it depends on a lot of resources from CDNs. Case in point, probably Google Fonts. There's the material fonts, something of the sort. So ideally, we see if you choose not to restrict some of these things, meaning your app will be able to talk to pick resources probably from even malicious can I put it, malicious endpoints per se. So it's really a good practice to be able to enhance content security policies within your Angular app. So whatever we have here is an example of a CSP header that you can be able to use. So you're saying that for these to be able to accept anything that comes from its own domain, so the self domain, so anything that is coming from the self domain should be able to allow that. Any scripts so that it's coming from ideally also the same domain to be able to do that. For these, we are accepting also unsafe inline, which is not a good practice. So we'll come to that. And you're also accepting anything that comes from apis.example.com. So that's how a CSP header would look like. So now that we know what CSP is, so what are the challenges that you do experience whenever you're working with these CSPs, particularly in Angular? So first, as I said, Angular relies highly, or rather relies on inline styles. So this is the component styles. Then there's the dynamic script injection. So the val, so that is in just-in-time compilation mode. Then it also relies on external fonts, so that is the Google Fonts, material icons. So since you know that Angular really relies on these things, what can we do to be able to achieve security in our application and also be able to use these particular resources that Angular relies on? So the first solution would be using nonce hashes for inline scripts. So for any inline script that you know you have within your code base, probably have hashes or nonces in it, so that when it's running, it can be able to validate these hashes and confirm that these are really these are resources, or rather these are files that the app can really trust. Then other thing is using ahead of time compilation. So try using ahead of time compilation because as it is when it builds, when Angular compiles the code, in prod mode is where now these CSP challenges now try to come out clearly. When you're trying to do your test in development mode, you might not be able to capture, or rather note some of these issues with CSP unless you now move to production. Now that's when they start now showcasing now where the issues are. Then another solution that you might do is whitelisting trusted domains. So if probably you're getting some data from a CDN or something of the sort, you can choose to whitelist those particular domains so that when it's fetching data, it knows fetching data from a trusted domain. So now, how do you implement CSP in Angular? So there are the two ways you can be able to do that. So the first one is by configuring a meta tag in the index of HTML. So most of the time, using these, can be able to play around with it even in development mode, but not really to some extent. So dearly, what now this particular configuration does, it acts some kind of as an early warning system. So when you have these, it can be able to capture, it can be able to detect some of CSP violations and be able to capture them and give you a warning early enough before you move to the next step, which is going to production. Then the other way you can do it is by using our nginx.config file. So this now is the ultimate way on how we can be able now to implement CSP well in Angular. So think of it as wearing a helmet during training. So this that gives you this gives you the comfort that you're on the safe side. But ideally, the ultimate goal is this configuration. So the nginx configuration. Now, this now is the actual battlefield armor. So the meta tag gives you the illusion that you have your helmet on, so your head is protected, but ideally the rest of your body is left vulnerable. So having both of them would go a long way in ensuring that you've really implemented CSP well. So the key differences between these two is so first the whenever you define your CSP configuration in your nginx config file, so most of the time it will override. Let me not say most of the time. It will definitely override whatever you have in your meta tag. So at times you might have something in your meta tag. Probably in your meta tag you said you allow unsafe inline. Then in your nginx configuration said we don't allow any unsafe inlines. So whatever is in the nginx configuration will override what will be on your meta tags. Then so for these, you can be able to implement the meta tag. You can be able to implement kind of at the base level. So that is can say the base level at the basic HTML level. So ideally, it can be able to mitigate some of these attacks directly from the browser. Then now these comes on the server. So ideally, the server will have much because people can find a way to bypass some of these, which is defined in the meta tag. Ideally, the one that is defined in the nginx, it will be hard to actually play or rather bypass some of those. So the next slide is now that you've talked about the Angular 19 introduced auto CSP. So I don't know if probably in late in Angular previous versions, if it was really there, I'm not so sure. But when I started using Angular 19, so that you can be able now to configure these up to CSP in your Angular.json file. So with these, can be able to achieve the same output, or rather the same result as you would in when you defined your configuration in probably the meta tags. So these such an easy way to do it when you are working in Angular 19. So again, we'll get to test this and see the difference, how everything works. So allow me now to go to jump into a demo, so that I'll be able to see this thing in action. So, but before we jump to a demo, if anyone has a question related to whatever I've presented on the previous slides, able to take in questions before I jump into the demo. So just allow me to share screen again.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Since Angular 19 has auto CSP, does that mean we don't have to use the options you presented before, the meta tags and the, can't remember the other one.
In the nginx configuration.
Yeah.
So with Angular 19 using the auto CSP, so you don't need to define or rather implement CSP in your meta tags, but implementing them in your nginx configuration would be ideal, because the auto CSP came in ideally to see to remove that whereby you need to specify this configuration in your meta tags. So yeah, but it's something we can test. I haven't fully tested it, but you can try and test it right now in the demo, so that you see how it works when we have both in our Angular JSON and when we have it in our nginx configuration.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so share my screen. So let me know once it's up.
It's up.
Okay. So we have these. I have a simple Angular 19 app here. So generally what you have is you just have an unsafe demo component. So this is what we'll be using to test. Then I have nginx configuration file here. Then
could you control plus on the code?
okay. Is that moving is now clearly visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what you're going to look at first is this unsafe demo component. So here we have so the first thing that we do have here is a button. So this button executes this execute evil. So ideally, so the function execute evil is this. So what it does, it just try to alert that there is a cross-site scripting attack. So then the second bit that you have is inline styling. So ideally we have a paragraph here and it's specified that this paragraph should be of color red and fonted of bold. Then the next bit that you have here is an irrelevant handler. So then these will get blocked by CSP because it's an inline. Whenever we specify that we don't accept inlines, these will get blocked. Then we also have another button here. So that uses that has a event binding that is handled by Angular. So this is the appropriate way of doing it. So these will be allowed in both scenarios. Then, lastly, we have, but we are trying to access an external CSS file. So from a CDN. So with this now, we want to do demo. So I'll solve these. So note in my Angular JSON, as it is right now, the auto CSP is false. Then in my index file, I don't have any meta tag that tries to implement or implement the CSP. So if you run this, yeah, it's taking a bit of time. Okay, so we run that. So the first thing, if we click, let me just clear that. So if you click on this, the first button, so which is this, so it executes this executable function. So you can see nothing happens, but on the console we get a warning that sanitizing HTML stripped some content. So that has been blocked. Note, this is being done automatically. We don't have auto CSP true as of now. Then this inline on click handler, if you click on it, it will say inline JS blocked. So this one we don't have the auto CSP on. These, if you click on it, this will also run. Then note this text. So currently is it's a red text and it's in bold. So you go back here. So just a minute before I change anything here. So I just drop the server. Then in a nginx configuration file, I have these. So these right now does not accept unsafe inline. So if I try now build this with the configuration that I have now, as that builds, so just walking through this Docker file. So ideally, it's the same as the one seen in the slides. So ideally, just building the team. The procedure is just the same as what I explained initially. So as managed to build. So if we run these, run these, come and build these. So first thing you'll see, you no longer have the red text. Here, you see refuse to apply inline style because it violates the following content security policy. So this is a policy that you've defined. So then there's another thing that it refuses to apply inline style because so this is come here. So there's this, so it has refused to apply this. It has refused also to apply this. So you can see the font, it's not as it was initially. Then it has also refused to apply this. So this happens, you're having your Angular app, when you're building it on development, it's running well, your styles are executing well. But now when you get to production, everything breaks. Now you keep asking yourself what might have gone wrong, something of the sort. So high chances, the culprit most of the time, it's always the CSP violations. So with this, what we're able to do is we just done we've set our CSP in our nginx configuration file, then build the Angular app in production mode. So what you're going to try next now is we allow unsafe inline. So ideally, this is not recommended because it's beating the essence of implementing CSPs and then allowing unsafe inlines within your app. So I'm building the app again, and then this. Let me see how it will behave. So if I run that command load, you can see now everything is back to as it was. So only these the malicious has not been loaded. So because ideally what you have, you're just accepting unsafe inline. We haven't specified if we should be able to accept any form of resources or any files from external CDNs or something of the sort. So that will get blocked as well. So now what I want us now to try is we don't specify any headers in our nginx configuration file. We come to Angular and return AutoCSP to true. So again, I'll stop these, then I'll build it. Run. So if I come and reload these, so you'll see whatever we have right now is AutoCSP is true. So again, the only thing that will get blocked is the untrusted malicious SS file. So everything else runs. So these will get blocked by default. When you try to click on inline on click handler, so this again to say refuse to execute inline event because it violates. These will execute. So, but the inline style here will get executed. Same to these. So these also will get executed. So the only thing that gets blocked is these will get blocked. Since we have set to CSP to true. So I want us, I forgot to show you one thing. So currently, since we have auto CSP to true, if we come to our dist folder and we come and check on index.html, we'll see it has added a meta tag. Then here it has added this. So dearly, it's saying that for it can be able to use see it has passed a hash to it. So then it has every script within it should be able to use that particular hash. So if I come now here and change it back to false, then instead of just build these locally, then you come back here, you can see the difference. So right now we don't have the meta tag, and logic of passing the hashes to every script is no longer there. So that's what now AutoCSP came to solve. So really now you don't have to have the meta tags within your index.html. If you just set AutoCSP to true, to be able to generate that in your as it builds and as it builds the app. So another thing that you want to try now is how build was false again. Then here, have it as we don't specify any. Then build these. So there are scenarios whereby when your app violates the CSP, your app won't entirely load. So it happens at times whereby you have your app was running well on development, then on server, nothing runs at all. So that's also something that now happens. So with this, now that we have AutoCSP, which AutoCSP is on false, then you don't have any restriction on the nginx configuration. So most of these will also run. So again, the only thing that still gets blocked is actually no, it does not get blocked. It just fails to load it here. So now everything runs as normal if you've not specified anything. But you see now there's a security risk because really anyone can inject any malicious script into your Angular application because to get some kind of data or rather break something. So now, what if we have this as false? You return that, then index.html can be able to just copy these. Let's see, November. So I can get to if the exact things that I'll do is this to field is to these is let's pause again. Then see that. So we specify now our meta tag in we'll have the meta tag in our index.html. So here you can say I can pass unsafe inline. Then in our nginx configuration, we don't pass it. So I'll build the image once again. So this is a scenario now where the entire app, nothing loads. So you can see it blocks ideally almost everything because if you come here, so you can see in our index.html, it said yeah, you should accept inlines, but whatever now we have here has overridden whatever was in index.html. So this is also a scenario whereby it can happen. You're having your app running well, but after going to production, nothing loads. So high chances the culprit is CSP. So I guess I've covered all the scenarios that yeah, using I've covered all the scenarios. So allow me jump back into my presentation so that I finish the last two slides. But unless there's a question before we move on to the slides. Yes, sometimes I'm guessing though. So let's just stop sharing for a bit.
Anyone who has a question, feel free to ask. Okay, I think another question. Think continue, Billy.
Okay, so just go back to my presentation. Okay, so I'm hoping it's visible. So
Is
yeah, so when we talk about now the best practices that you can be able to use so that you can be able to achieve the best. So the first is we need to use multi-stages Docker build. So as I mentioned earlier, in case anything breaks, you can be able to debug it much faster. And ideally, smaller images equates to faster deploys and fewer attack surfaces. So your prod environment should not include Node.js, or 200 MBs plus of dev dependencies. So you need to strip it down to just probably nginx. So it's more of like think of it like packing only a toothbrush when you go for a weekend trip. So probably ladies would pack more, but for men, yeah, we'd only pack a toothbrush. Anything else tutakutana kwa barabara. Then another thing is when you're building you're building your apps now for prod mode. We need to pass the prod flag. So ideally, these if you build without it's more of, if you build without the prod, it's more like leaving your front door unlocked, because the end of time compilation tries to kill off things like evals, then enables CSP compliance and cuts the bundle size by almost 60%. So if your pipeline is not using prod flag, then probably need to stop and fix it. Then another practice that you can use is we need to test the CSP violations early enough so that by the time we get to prod, we tend to avoid the last minute issues. So yeah, play around with the CSP. Actually, can be able to pass it in different places. So in the Angular JSON, there's the production bit, there's a development bit, there's a staging bit. So you can be able to place it anywhere within those and play with it around and see how your app is responding to these CSP restrictions. Then another thing is you need to monitor CSP violations. So when you're setting up CSP violations, can be able to set an endpoint to more of like a report endpoint. So anytime your application violates the CSP, it sends probably error to that particular endpoint. So this comes in handy when probably you're working with a larger team and there are different products that are getting shipped to production. So you can embed that in your CI/CD pipeline, that whenever product gets into the pipeline, it can be able to run a quick check. Then if it finds it violates the CSP, send that to a particular endpoint. So yeah, it helps catch these violations early enough. Then lastly, now we're going to talk about the common pitfalls that will happen. So the first is, and you try to ignore CSP dev, definitely it will break in production. So most of the time it won't until probably a client runs, or rather your Angular application runs through a security check, then finds out that there are a lot of CSP violations. So for instance, it used to use unsafe inline in your CSP. Rather, it used to use that in your headers, then safe inline. You're thinking, yeah, as long as it works, then I'm okay. Then gets to a point whereby a security scan is done on the app, then they find that you're using unsafe inline. So it comes back to you. You try and go step by step now fixing. Probably you used a lot of inline styles. Now you start thinking of how you can be able now to remove them, something of the sort. So the best thing is don't ignore CSP dev. The moment you start building an application, start considering having CSP restriction from the get-go. Then another thing is overusing unsafe inline. So it's usually tempting. So probably when you're in a rush, you build your application nice in production. Some of the things slip there, so it'd be tempted to let me add this unsafe inline and move along with it. So ideally it weakens the security. So it creates a loophole for cross-site scripting attacks to happen. So I highly advocate don't use unsafe inlines in your code, or rather when you're specifying your CSP restriction. Then lastly is add coding secrets in Docker files. So this is now when you're now doing the containerization bit. Most of the time people tend to probably run something random like env, then you specify your API key. So there are certain restrictions that when you do, you can be able. Let me just actually, if I can be able to add. So I'm not able to. Ideally, yeah, there are certain commands, when you're building, and rather when you're serving your Docker secrets. So there are common mistakes that I see most people do. Let's see. Allow to store presentations so that I can write something on it. So there's these, probably some. Yeah, so most of the time you find people doing such a thing when you're doing, or rather when you're trying to do, when you're trying to have your Docker secrets. So people will tend to have something of the sort in probably within a Docker file or something of the sort. So note when you're doing such thing, someone can go into an image history and be able to see this kind of data, or rather this kind of specification whereby you specify the API key using this approach. So the best thing to do is you pass your secrets when you're building your Docker image. So something of set would be something like, now when you're building an image, now I choose to pass secret ID here, and we'll pass API key, then something like name them. So ideally now we have specifying. So see, when now you're doing a Docker build, now you'll be able to pass to specify now your secrets. So this is most recommended rather than actually having to execute, rather than trying to create your environment variables this way in a Docker file. So another thing is hard coding and coding these secrets in Docker file. Is among the common pitfalls that see most people do. So again, that's I think that's what I had. Majorly, yeah, I think that marks end of my presentation. So again, I'll welcome questions. Is there any? Yeah, and maybe you need to start considering CSP's restriction as early as possible. Probably it may not catch up with you right now, but later it might, especially when you do products for clients that are very heavy on security scans and all that, they'll definitely flag some of the CSP errors. So yeah, with great Docker, with great Docker power comes great CSP responsibility. So that's how I'll leave it out. So I'd be glad to answer questions that you have.
Yeah, if you have a question, kindly feel free to unmute and ask. I think for me, the highlight of this session was I've never had a chance to implement a CSP on my Angular applications before. So I don't have a question, but rather to appreciate the session. I think I've learned something today, how to maybe create a security layer in our Angular applications, because right now where I work, we really have a huge application that deals with different markets. So I think that's something maybe I should consider for the future. So thanks, Billy.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments, please? Okay. So I guess people are shy or they don't have questions. So I guess they'll reach out to you on your social media platforms in case of anything. Yeah. Billy, are you good for us to close the session or?
Yeah, I'm okay. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you for the opportunity. To interact with guys and learning from you moving forward.
Thank you as well. It was a very enlightening talk. And thank you for all of you who have joined us this evening. Yeah, we hope to see you next time. Yeah, allow me to let you go and have a good night. And yeah, see you in the next session. Bye, guys.
Great, thank you.